Wow, bootleggers, a topic that many people don't know or know very little about. I'm Joseph Price, and I'm here to tell you about the birth of NASCAR. Pretty much in the 1940s, the moonshiners caused numerous conflicts and effects to occur. One of the main compromises is that it caused the birth of NASCAR. Many other effects and compromises happened, such as laws, national securities, and people's entertainment started to change. This caused a humongous change in our daily lives.
He has the good run here in the quad oval. He took a look to the inside, couldn't make the move. He'll head for the top side of the racetrack in turns 1 and 2, but Dale Earnhardt maintains the lead down the backstretch for the final time. Labonte right on the rear spoiler.
And Earnhardt goes in high. That's going to leave some room for Labonte on the bottom.
Here comes Bobby Labonte making a charge. They come toward the line. Who will it be? It is going to be... I don't know.
For those of you who do not know what NASCAR is, the encyclopedia says it is the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. It is an American, family-owned, operated business that sanctions and governs multiple auto racing, sporting events, and things such as that. So basically, if you really like fast cars going super fast and going hundreds of miles per hour and winning, you'll really like NASCAR racing. Alright, let's hop into this. Will you believe that all of this happened because of bootlegging? Most people never knew that bootlegging and NASCAR have so much to do with each other. They're like cause and effect. Also, if you're unclear of what bootlegging is, it is the illegal business or transportation of smuggling alcoholic beverages where such transportation is forbidden by law. Smuggling is usually done with taxation or prohibiting laws with particular alcoholic laws. Bootlegging is also known as rum running. Pretty much, they get a whole bunch of alcoholic drinks and they try to sneak it to someone without being caught by the police. If they get caught, they'll get sent to jail for multiple years, depending on how much they were smuggling. So we'll be focusing on is moonshine. One of the most popular alcohols to bootleg was moonshine. Yeehaw! This old southern whiskey dates back to over 300 years ago, or as my dad likes to call it, the good old days. You wouldn't think it, but moonshine wasn't made in America. It was actually created in the 18th century in England. This drink spread quickly around the whole world and landed in the US, unfortunately. It was so popular that the government put a ban on it, and this ban occurred in January 16th, 1920. Many people didn't like this ban and thought it was very unnecessary. Here's what somebody has to say about this ban.
I'm doing fine, Joseph. How are you?
That's good. What do you think about the ban of alcohol in 1920?
I think it was unnecessary because the government was trying to control things that they couldn't.
Why do you think that?
I think the way the government is designed, they want to be able to make money off of every little thing.
That seems interesting. Can you explain that a little further?
Sure. I think when alcohol started coming around and people started partaking in that and enjoying it, they realized that they couldn't actually control how it was being distributed. And I think because they couldn't control it and get the money from it, I think they decided to put a ban on it.
Okay.
And by them putting the ban on it, once they realized, okay, we can't control this ban and people are still getting alcohol out there, I think they decided, okay, we're going to lift the ban, but at that point we're going to go ahead and tax it so we can still get income from that particular product.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Price.
No problem.
Mr. Price said that the government put a ban on alcohol because they weren't making any money off the illegal alcohol. So they decided to put a ban on it. But since they couldn't control all the illegal drinking and bootlegging, they decided to unban the alcohol, but they just put a tax on it. This caused many other conflicts to occur because they did not unban moonshine. Moonshine was the most popular drink to bootleg. Since they did not unban this, the bootlegging problem did not stop, and it just created more and more and more problems. Period. Did not stop, and it just caused more and more problems. But let's go back while all this bootlegging was happening. So even though alcohol was prohibited, people still did it illegally because they love their alcohol. But Over the next 13 years, the price of liquor rose very quickly. Why, you may ask? Well, I'll explain that later. But meanwhile, all this was happening, there was a booming business growing in the Appalachian Mountains. This consisted of a lot of bootleggers. These bootleggers usually weren't very good people, and they relied on illegal money making for a living. Even though being on the run is a poor way of living, it was their only way of living, so they had to make do with what they had. But being a bootlegger was no easy task. They needed a couple items to be successful in this business. First of all, they needed a really good car to ditch the cops. Lots of cars were very good at this job and lots of cars weren't, but some cars shone above others. The 1940 Ford was the best car and the most popular car for this type of bootlegging. This car supplied everything that a bootlegger would ever need. It contains stability, speed, it's upgradable, and it has numerous other things that make it great for bootlegging. This was the great choice of driving at the time.
Here we have a typical moonshine runner car. This is 1940 Ford with 29,000 original miles. Now, why did they typically use a Ford? One, because they were easy to find, and two, they were cars that could be easily modified. Most of your NASCAR race drivers got their beginning on the roads of the Carolinas and Georgia, and they weren't driving around on a nice paved racetrack. They were driving on red dirt, potholes, rocks, and the road was no wider than the car.
Besides the car, other things were required for these bootleggers to succeed. First, they had to work during the night. This gave them an edge against the cops because they could be more stealthy and possibly escape them. Some other conditions had to be met with themselves. These drivers usually are very brave and willing to take big risks. Also, they must be very mechanically minded. They need to be able to work with cars and engines and tweak them and modify them so they can improve. They will usually work in areas such as a garage or workshop. With the conditions, these bootleggers can earn about $150 a night. Lots of people took this route in making money, and with all these people coming, the bootlegging business just kept growing. Since all of this was illegal, somebody had to try and put them to justice. This was up to our police and lawmen. Actually, the Redbirds were lawmen that were supposed to stop them from causing these crimes, but this task was very difficult to complete. The bootleggers just kept getting faster, smarter, and better. They just kept adding more and more upgrades to their vehicles. Some modifications were using their dashboard to turn off the taillights to lose the cops. Other things like switching license plates with each other and adding extra carburetors. If you don't know what these are, they just increase the engine's ability to use fuel, which results in more horsepower to the engine. Soon they just started using better engines because they had to get more and more speed. These were faster and stronger engines. With all of these upgrades, the police could not catch them. They even tried using faster cars to get an edge, but they were just still too fast. So what they did is unban all the alcohol except moonshiners. Sadly, this did not fix the problem, so the moonshiners got away with the crime. Dang.
It was all about going as fast as you can because the guy behind you was going to put you in jail. That was the deal. And how much would you get to haul a load of liquor to Greensboro, Winston-Salem back in the 50s?
You'd probably make $150.
A trip?
Yeah.
One night, $150. Is it not easy to see how these young guys did that?
With all of these drivers, bragging started to occur. They started bragging about who had the better car and the better skills behind the wheel. As you know, the only way to see who had them was to put them to the test. This caused street races to occur. These were stock car races. These were growing very popular and got lots of viewers. Some smart producers caught on to this and they started hosting local events with these racers. In the South, these races were growing very popular. This form of stock car racing was super unprofessional and unsportsmanlike. These racers would do anything to win and for the reward, even if it killed somebody. Somebody saw these racers races, and they thought that they could evolve this sport and make it better. His name was Bill France Sr. He was an auto mechanic, and he had big interest in cars and vehicles. One day he noticed all the stock car races, and he got a wonderful idea. He wanted to create a racing company, so he decided to move to Daytona Beach in Florida on the east in 1934. This is where the Daytona Speedway is now. He started with a small race where he could race his modified, that's his name of his car, in Florida, and successfully promoted some small beach road events in Daytona. But he was still thinking about making this more worldwide corporation and didn't want to quit. He kept organizing races and races until he started to get some attention. After many unsuccessful tries and meetings with other promoters, car owners, and drivers, just before Christmas in 1947, the foundations were laid down in February. After this, NASCAR was legally incorporated. There you have it, folks. That's how NASCAR was created. One little drink turned it into something super special. All of these events caused some weird compromises. Some of the compromises were that the police force changed, they had to get faster cars and vehicles to try and catch the bootleggers. Laws about alcohol changed because the ban of moonshine still to this day, and the tax of alcohol. Entertainment changed because when NASCAR was created, over 1 million viewers are watching them, so that created a big change. NASCAR was created, that's a huge change. And cars in general just changed with how engines work, and the speed of cars and how cars work, and other compromises happen such as those. Thanks for watching my documentary. See you next time.